Good morning and welcome into SimWorld today here on this Wednesday, June 26th morning. It is a premiere episode as I'm Marsh, joined for the first time here by Jason Kandel. JK, good morning. Jason, how are you feeling this fine morning?
Uh, Thank you for having me on, Marsh. I'm pretty darn excited to be here. We got some big news to talk about, so I'm ready to get cracking and can't really think of a better place to be spending my Wednesday mornings.
We sure do. We got some breaking news from last night. We've got some breaking news of our own. And of course, we've got the SimWorld BA draft coming up tonight that we'll touch on. So let's start with the breaking news from last night where the Brooklyn Nets made a pair of trades, but the biggest one was Mikal Bridges headed over to the New York Knicks to join his Villanova teammates. 4 first-round picks, 2 extra picks by way of Milwaukee and an unprotected future one, 6 first-round picks overall, and Cal Bridges is now a New York Knick. Jason, your thoughts?
For starters, I am a massive fan of that Villanova team with Bridges, DiVincenzo, Hart, and Jalen Brunson from their college days. So I'm super excited to see them teaming up, especially since I'm a native New Yorker. There's a lot of buzz coming into Madison Square Garden, but my initial reaction to when the Knicks made this trade was that they might be preparing for life after OG Anunoby. Mikal Bridges' cap hit is significantly cheaper than whatever Leon Rose will end up having to pay OG Anunoby this free agency. So that is very telling to me. I think it would be interesting to see these two guys play in tandem, but I love this move for the Knicks. You give up a lot of first round picks, but you're staying competitive and still preparing for life after OG Anunoby. And that is a big plus in my book for a Knicks team that is just really trying to get over the hump in a very strong and a very weak Eastern Conference outside of the Boston Celtics.
So here's the full details of it. A 2025 first round pick, a 2027 first round pick, a 2029 first round pick, a 2031 first round pick, a 2028 first round swap, a 2025 first round pick via Milwaukee, and then a 2025 second round pick, plus Bojan Bogdanovic, all for Mikal Bridges. That is on par with what we saw sent over for Rudy Gobert. On top of that, they returned the Rockets 2025 first round pick to Houston, as well as sending over a 2026 first round pick. The Brooklyn Nets get that while they send over the Nets send to Houston 4 first round picks. All sorts of fun details there. But anyhow, I like your call out of potentially life after OG. I think it could be a situation where they may re-sign OG and just use his salary and his skill set as a potential financial mechanism for down the line. It would probably, I mean, I don't think it's probably, it would most certainly boost them into the second apron, which makes trading much more restrictive. But we don't see a lot of teams prepare and trade for notable guys like OG Anunoby and give up the pieces that the New York Knicks did to then not retain him in some capacity. But what you've done is you've solved your wing issue, and you've solved your second score issue, which plagued New York last season. They had no options against Philadelphia outside of Jalen Brunson. They had no options against Indiana outside of Jalen Brunson. When this series, or if this series had gone to a an Eastern Conference Finals for the Knicks, they would have had nobody to go up against any of the perimeter threats that the Boston Celtics have. That's what this move does, and I'm most shocked, honestly, that the New York Knicks and Brooklyn Nets made a deal. It's not very common that they make trades, but from an actual player standpoint, it's great. And now you've exhausted every single first round pick option that you have if you are the New York Knicks. And this is the future. The Villanova Knicks are the future in New York. It's it's an all-in move. Jalen Brunson proved to be an all-star, proved to be all-NBA. I don't know that Mikal Bridges is quite all-NBA or an all-star. He looked fine in Brooklyn, but he's best served as a number 2, number 3, but that's who he's going to be. And if they can manage to not all get hurt at the same time, this Knicks team, Jason, is going to be pretty dangerous. Let's head to SimWorld BA, where the draft will stay in there. But the SWBA draft is tonight, 8 p.m. Jason, this has been a well-regarded class in terms of not being all that well-regarded. So in your opinion, what is there to watch for tonight as we head into the first round, the first time that the SWBA is doing a 2-day draft? First round is tonight, starts at 8. What are you looking for tonight?
First off, I think it's quite the interesting change to make for the SWBA. Having seen the draft take place over one night in the past, it's going to feel weird to see only one round tonight and then one round tomorrow. But as a big fan of the SWFL draft, I guess it's something that I'm kind of used to. I would say the biggest storyline of the night, in my book, is Donovan Clingan, the UConn big man. That is one big man. He's a great rim protector, probably the best in this class. Showed off that jumper a little bit at the SWBA Combine, but there's talk of him going as high as number 2 to the Washington Wizards tonight, and I think the most interesting moment of the night is going to be where Donovan Clingan ends up, and we see him on the screen right now. Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepherd are both two very polarizing Kentucky guards, and I also would love to see if Rob Dillingham is as highly regarded by NBA teams as he is as the fans, because I'm not particularly high on Rob Dillingham. He's undersized and does not have the best shot selection. So I think he can fall out of the lottery. So I have my eyes on Miami at number 15 for Rob Dillingham.
I think this is going to be one of the more fascinating top 10s in the draft, just because I think there's no consensus on anything. The consensus is there is none. I think it's worth a mention of what happened with Bronny James, just with the way he ended at SimWorld U. His decision to withdraw prior to the season. Obviously, there's still a lot of question marks from league officials of what not officials, but league insiders about what his upside is and what his capabilities are. So it's worth watching to see go in the first round. The Lakers are going to hold on to their first round pick. Is that really where he ends up? It feels kind of predestined. I'm very curious what happens with Donovan Clingan myself. I think he could be the number 1 pick. I think this is a draft class that has no real great options, and if you're the Hawks at number 1 and you can take Donovan Clingan and find a way to move off of Clint Capella, you can duck underneath the second luxury tax line, the second apron, and put yourself in a lot more beneficial financial situation for this group. But I think that sometimes these are the most interesting drafts to watch because it's just so unknown on who's going to end up where, what's going to end up where. I think what the Spurs do at 4 and 8 is going to be very interesting. If Donovan Clingan falls to number 4 and they get him at number 4 to kind of solidify their center spot, and then go out and get somebody at number 8 to be a point guard, maybe if Reed Shepherd falls to 4 and he's available there for them, those are the 2 spots, in my opinion, that they need. With Devin Vassell kind of locking up the perimeter, you need a new point guard, you need a big man, and I think whatever the Spurs can do to try to add around Victor Wembanyama, albeit not with elite talent, considering this draft class, I think that's going to be very fascinating to watch, Jason.
Absolutely. That Wembanyama-Clingan duo would probably be quickly one of the best shot blocking duos in the entire SWBA. I would love to see that. That would be a sight to behold.
Yeah, there's seems as if, I'll probably butcher the name if you're any better at it, but Rassacher from France tends to be the kind of consensus number 1 as we head into it. But should be, no matter what happens, fascinating, because then, of course, we'll run right into Summer League next month, where we'll get the first look at every single one of these players to figure out just what is happening and what they're capable of. All right, let's head to SimWorld Prep, where we have 2 items we'll discuss, but the first one was in breaking news yesterday. Arthur Lattimore has committed to the University of Texas. He will be a Texas Longhorn, chose that over Houston, chose that on the heels of what I've been hearing, JK, was that there had been some schools that were getting frustrated with his lack of commitment, even Kentucky pulled a commitment offer to him, from what I've been told. But a long recruiting process for Arthur Lattimore finally concluded. Your opinions?
Arthur Lattimore, probably the best uncommitted player in all of SimWorld Prep, stays home. Him and Vincent Magic are going to be a lethal duo down there in Austin. What else really needs to be said? Coach Rodney Terry is really cooking with this recruiting class for the University of Texas, and I love this move for Arthur Lattimore. He's got plenty of potential and will be competitive instantly at the SimWorld U level in Austin.
Yeah, he'll head to a group that's ready to compete. Clearly, I mean, I think it's. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say he's the best recruit to go to Texas since Kevin Durant. I just think that's the group that this has. He's a very highly ranked recruit, as you mentioned. Probably going to end up playing the 5, I would assume, which is a position of strength for this group with Derek Long and Aaron Payne on the roster. So, I mean, I think Arthur Lattimore's got a lot more to his game. He shot 22% on very low volume from deep. Would love to see that expand a little bit at the next level, just so he can be a 3-level scorer. I don't think it's possible to be a championship leading big man in today's day and age of basketball without a jump shot. You look at the bigs, Embiid and Jokic, chief among them. Even Wembanyama, they have the ability to stretch the floor. So I think that's the last thing. And I think he's almost going to be forced into doing that, considering the roster that the Longhorns have. But I said this on Monday. He slow played it. Some schools didn't like that. I don't see it a reason with that whatsoever. Clearly, the schools that pulled the offer were not in the running for him. I mean, he was going to stay in Texas. That had been the reporting on this for the last pretty much month, was that Lattimore was staying in Texas. So I think for Kentucky to pull an offer was more of a statement to say, "Wow, look, we're not going to wait around for anyone." Well, frankly, you don't wait around for anyone because no one went to anyway. Kentucky. I mean, you had to go get Adonis Knight, who's good, but he's not great. But for Lattimore, this is a fantastic landing spot. SimWorld U. It's a 2-season for now, 2-season stay. What they do now, I think, should be attractive for recruits in the class of season 3, because Arthur Lattimore is that type of attraction for teams to want, or for players to want to come out and pair with him. So congratulations again to Lattimore. And then speaking of season 3 recruits, we have some breaking news that Ivan Suslov, 16-year-old for SimWorld Europe, has committed to play for UCLA. He will be a Bruin after one more season of SimWorld prep. Suslov was the dynamic second piece on a very, very good SimWorld Europe squad next to Andrei Ivanov. As we get his numbers for you, averaged 11 points, 5 boards in 19 minutes, shot 54%. Heck, even hit 30% from deep on pretty low volume. But he is going to be a UCLA Bruin, JK.
I love this commitment. Congratulations to Ivan Suslov. He is an absolutely incredible talent. He has spent so much time being the Robin to Andrei Ivanov's Batman for SimWorld Europe on their run to the quad in the run to 1 this year. But Ivan Suslov going to UCLA, he'll compete immediately playing for Coach Mick Cronin, and he'll have a chance to show out his skills immediately. He'll be a force down there, a force to be reckoned with. Ivan Suslov is a very promising 16-year-old. Him going to play for UCLA for his SimWorld U days is a great move, a very storied program, especially with those big men. So I wonder how this is going to affect his SimWorld U and potentially Sim SWBA future down the line, Marsh.
This is a big get for UCLA because they need to start planning for draft or recruiting classes in 2 seasons, because it's now they're set for next season. I mean, you're bringing back Gerald Carroll, Evangelos Mullins, JJ Ortega, and Jalen Snow. You're bringing back Blaine Kidd. They didn't really get any really high tier recruits from the class of season 2, partially just because of the fact that this roster, the starting 5, doesn't really give itself a ton of oxygen for anyone else coming in. So I think this is a great move to get Suslov, who again got one more year of SimWorld prep next to Andrei Ivanov in SimWorld Europe. The duo with Ivanov headed off to Duke next season, after next season, I should say. This is a great get, and this is a continuation of UCLA trying to return this once storied program to prominence. It really hasn't been that since the Kevin Love days, the Russell Westbrook days. It's been kind of they've been more of a surprising run than they've been a favorite come basketball bedlam and hoopsteria. So I think this is a great gift for them. Ivanov, again, he's a big that can stretch the floor a little bit. You want to see that continue to expand as a 16-year-old. but the ceiling is very high on Ivanov and Suslov, and for Suslov to go out to UCLA and presumably get a shot to be the number one guy on that team when he gets there, obviously a fantastic opportunity for him. All right, that's our show here on this Wednesday. Jason, the preview, the premiere. How are we feeling, Jason? One show in. Were the bright lights of SimWorld today as intimidating as everyone probably thinks they are?
It's very welcoming once you get your foot in the door. I've enjoyed this, and it's my first episode. Hopefully, it's not my last. So we're keeping it with the glass half full to end today's episode.
We're a family show, no swears. I mean, you got that going for you. You didn't butcher any names like I did, so you got that going for you. Look, fantastic first show. Just of course there'll be more, but appreciate you coming on for that first show. I believe we're coming back with you tomorrow, but I guess we'll leave the listeners and the viewers in suspense. They'll just have to wait and see what that graphic spins into. But we're going to be talking SWBA draft reaction tomorrow, and hey, maybe there's going to be some more trades. Probably will be. So it'll be some draft picks and maybe some trades as well that we'll recap, and then of course the ever-changing landscape of SimWorld Prep and SimWorld U as we rumble on in to the summer of 2024 and more basketball and sports ahead. This has been SimWorld Today. Thank you all for tuning in here on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.
This has been a presentation